Let me ask you something. You know that house on your street that's been sitting there for what feels like forever, with the same listing photos from 3 seasons ago? There's a reason for that. And if you're planning to sell your home in Prince George, you need to understand exactly what went wrong there so you do not repeat it. Today, we're going to break down the real reasons homes expire in this market, not the surface stuff, the actual psychological, strategic, and pricing failures that cause sellers to lose months of their lives and tens of thousands of dollars in negotiating leverage. An expired listing is not just a home that did not sell. It's a public record of a fundamental failure. Pricing, presentation, and market reality were all out of alignment, and buyers noticed. In Prince George, a healthy listing period typically runs somewhere between 15 and 90 days, depending on the property type, the neighborhood, and where the market sits at the time. Once you push past that window without an accepted offer, something went wrong upstream. And I want to be clear, this is not about bad luck or a slow market. In almost every case, an expired listing traces back to one of four specific fixable mistakes. These 4 points are micro market blindness, where sellers ignore localized neighborhood ceilings, and the 21-day expiration, meaning they are missing the peak exposure window. The assessment trap, which relies on using a blunt tax tool for precision pricing. And finally, visual degradation, which is signaling market rejection through stale media. Let's go through them all right now. Micro market blindness. Here's the first major mistake. Sellers and their agents fail to respect what I call micro market ceilings. Prince George is not one real estate market. It's a collection of distinct neighborhoods, each with its own price ceiling that buyers will simply not cross, no matter how nicely the home is staged. To give you a real sense of the gap, as of 2026, the Hard Highlands has been sitting around low $600,000 range average detached sale. East of the bypass, you're looking at the mid to low $400,000 range. That is a spread of close to $200,000 inside the same city. If your CMA is pulling comps from the wrong pocket of town, you're going to misprice the property before you even put a sign on the lawn. And those ranges will shift year to year, which is exactly why you need current neighborhood-specific data every single time. Most sellers do not realize their window of peak exposure is brutally short. I call it the 21-day rule. The first 3 weeks a property is active on MLS represent its highest possible visibility. Buyer agents are running searches daily. Motivated purchasers are watching the market. If your home receives 10 to 15 showings in that window and produces 0 offers, that is not bad luck. That is the market telling you clearly and loudly that the price does not align with the values buyers perceive. If that is your situation, you need to execute a price reduction by day 25 or 30, not 45, not 60, but day 25 to 30. Every week you wait past that threshold, you are burning negotiating leverage and accumulating days on market. Overpriced listings artificially inflate what is called days on market, or DOM. Once a listing crosses the psychological threshold of average days on market for that neighborhood, buyers and their agents start assuming the property has an undisclosed defect, a structural issue, a water problem, something the seller is hiding. They're probably wrong, but that assumption is almost impossible to reverse once it sets in. The price correction you eventually have to make will need to be larger to overcome that stigma, and your final sale price will be lower than if you had priced it correctly from day one. Quick pause right here. If you're realizing there's a lot more to this than putting a sign in the lawn, navigating PG doesn't have to be stressful. Depending on your goals, I have 3 free resources available to you. A seller's guide if you're planning to list, relocation guide if you're moving to the area, home buyers program, including a buyer's guide plus weekly videos and emails to walk you through the process step by step. Just comment guide below and let me know which one fits your situation. All right, let's get into the third major reason homes sit unsold. I hear this constantly. A seller pulls up their assessment notice and says their home is worth a specific number because the government said so. Here is the problem. BC Assessment calculates your property value based on market conditions from a previous year. By the time that notice lands in your mailbox, the data it is based on is already running behind the current market by roughly a year. On top of that, it has zero ability to account for the quality of the property that actually drive buyers' decisions. The condition of your kitchen, the size of your lot compared to the neighbors, whether the mechanical systems are updated, the specific street you are on within a neighborhood. To put this into perspective, let's look at it side by side. When you rely on BC assessment, your data is a full year delayed. It relies on macro algorithms meant strictly for tax administration. So the result is a predictable path straight to an expired listing. If you get a real-time CMA, the data is current to the very week. It factors in the quality of the property, and it is designed specifically for strategic market pricing, which is exactly what drives competition. Okay, let's look at number 4. In Prince George, we have distinct seasons, and listing photos have a shelf life. Properties with premium photography receive significantly more attention from buyers and spend less time on the market. The visual first impression is not a nice to have, it's a core component of your pricing strategy, because perceived value and actual value have to align from the moment a buyer sees that first photo. If you listed your home in October with professional summer photos showing a green lawn, blooming gardens, and bright natural light, and the listing is still active in February with snow piled against the foundation, you have a problem. Buyers seeing those photos immediately understand that the home has been actively rejected by the market for multiple months. You have just handed them every piece of psychological leverage in the negotiation before they even showed up and booked a showing. Homes expire in Prince George for a small number of very specific and very preventable reasons. Pricing that ignores micro-market boundaries, missing the 21-day correction window, relying on BC assessment as a substitute for a proper CMA, and visual presentation that signals market rejection to every buyer scrolling through those listings. None of this has to be complicated in theory, but executing correctly requires a clear-eyed understanding of where this market actually sits right now, neighborhood by neighborhood, and a willingness to make uncomfortable decisions early in the process rather than painful ones later. Navigating the Prince George market doesn't have to be stressful. Depending on your goals, I have a seller's guide if you're planning on listing, relocation guide if you're planning on moving here, and a home buyer's program, which comes with a guide, exclusively weekly videos, and emails to help you through the process step by step. Just comment the word guide below. Let me know which one fits your situation. And thanks for listening today. We'll see you in the next video.